my understanding of fascism, because I'm a lefty, is kind of steeped in Umberto Eco's Urc-fascism, the
The
14
14
points.
tenets.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And I thought it might be interesting if you and I, and we don't have to use this framework if you don't want to, but I thought if we go through each one of them briefly and see if we can come to an agreement on whether or not Trump touches any of these, right? Or
Sure.
how many of them.
Sure. I'm happy to go through the 14 tenets with you.
Okay, and I'm sure it's something you've done before. I don't mean to bore you with it, but let's take a look real quick.
Actually, I don't think in any debate in the last couple of years, too many people have brought up. I think that's Umberto Eco's 14 tenets of fascism. If I remember correctly, this was written in the 90s. Is that right?
Yeah. It was written in the 90s. Umberto himself lived through Mussolini's reign, and so
yep, I remember.
I figured him a good source, at least from that. I'm more apt to listen to somebody who lived through 9/11 about what it was like to be there than somebody who wasn't, right?
Sure. Yeah, I'm with you.
So the first tenet is the cult of tradition. This is a syncretic belief in ancient truths. It's a little weird, like you said. It's this idea of it rejects modern interpretations of traditional beliefs. So
yeah, I would agree that Trump would fit that bill of like an appeal to a tradition in the United States. I would kind of argue
make America great again, right?
Sure. I would just argue that all presidents do. They're all basically sourcing the tradition of the Constitution and the framework of the government and American patriotism and hoorah. That's basically all of them. But that I would even
all of them are looking. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Oh no, it's fine. I was just saying I think ultimately you could say that, but when this applied to fascism in this framework, fascism was trying to take like this bizarre old Roman idea, you know what I mean? We're going to bring back Rome and then like mix it with fast cars and we want to go fast and zoom, zoom, zoom. And they cut each other's faces with swords and shit. And like they were mixing a separate set in order to make a new idea. And Trump's kind of like appeal to tradition is just, it seems more to me like it's just kind of blase blah political rhetoric, make America great again. There's no real reference point to when, where, how, just like once upon a time we were, and we're going to go back to that.
Well, doesn't that make it more effective as a piece of propaganda, though? There's no real specific point that we're referring to. Make America great again. Well, when was America great? What are we shooting for? I mean, it feels like fascistic rhetoric to me. Like there is some,
I don't know. I think
kind of ancient past that we're all kind of striving for, right?
I think it's just in line with what you hear in most political rhetoric. When you're talking about political traditions, you're kind of looking at experiments in history that worked. And I think most politicians appeal to some kind of traditional experimentation in America, like they'll say, America is about freedom. That's kind of an appeal to an American tradition. America is about unity. America's about hard work. They're all appealing to the past, to the former state of things. You know what I mean?
But does that reject modern interpretation in the way that Umberto kind of ascribes?
I think it does. I think that they're all trying to blend something kind of in a different form. They're saying they are appealing to the past. That's true. But essentially that's all it is. It's kind of like it's like a vibes thing. It's a rhetorical vibes thing. They're like, look, America is about patriotism. Like how many times have you heard politicians say, this is the country that put a man on the moon?
Right. Like
of course. It's all an appeal to this bullshit. You know what I mean? I don't think that Trump's Make America Great Again is any more rhetorically fascistic than any of that shit, honestly.
So once again, just to button this one up,
yeah.
Number one, cult of tradition. You think it's arguable that Trump could fit some criteria here or no?
I think he does. I just think all politicians do.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And, maybe one day we'll discuss whether or not all politicians or the American system as it exists today is inherently fascistic. Yeah,
that's fair.
I mean, as a lefty, that's not entirely out of the realm of my wild imaginings. So second one is rejection of modernism. This views the Enlightenment and rationalism as the root of moral decline.
Yeah, I don't think that Trump himself gives a shit about that kind of stuff. He's more of a
I don't think he
demagogue.
knows about it. I mean, I
Well,
don't think he could tell you two sentences
he's more
about
of a
it.
demagogue, but he seems like he embraces modernism a lot more than his right wing base would prefer. For instance, he has a lot of women who are in his various cabinets. Some of them who you wonder if they only got there because they're women, like Pam Bondi and others. Where you're like,
Sure,
what
right.
the are you even doing there?
DEI
He's
hires from the
also
right.
no, I'd say that Trump embraces modernity far more than he rejects it.
I
Like
think
I
that
would
might be
expect
fair.
Trump to do things like if he was trying to make bids for the past, I would expect completely different play moves from him. And he doesn't really make any of those plays. He makes play moves that are really realistically in the modern sense dealing with issues of our time.
I do think he's definitely a more modernistic president than Joe Biden was.
Hmm.
You know what I mean, in terms of his worldview and stuff. So I think you're probably right on that.
Yeah,
Doesn't fit Trump super neatly. Number two,
yeah, doesn't fit him
um,
neatly. No,
the cult of action for action's sake. That's
no.
number three.
Well, that's a specific philosophy called pure act. And pure act philosophy is not again. Trump. I don't think Trump knows anything about philosophy.
I
I
don't
don't
think he
think.
does either.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and the you have to understand pure act philosophy from the prism of the fascists. That was they were actually engaging in real philosophical dialogue about freedom of choice and predeterminism
yeah,
and whether or not you have biological functions which drive you. And Trump's not doing any of that shit. He doesn't care about any of that.
no.
Yeah.
But right at the core of it, it's valuing action over reflection. It's kind of an embracing of anti-intellectual sentiment.
That's not really what pure act is, though. Pure act is a
Well, he
philosophy.
doesn't. I mean, to be fair, Umberto doesn't use the term pure act in that little sub definition there.
But that's what he's referencing is
Sure.
the fascistic philosophy of pure act. It's what it's all built on. Is
Okay.
pure. It's what's called pure act. And no, I don't think that Trump. I don't even think he gives a shit about that.
So
Like
if
I don't.
Trump doesn't know he's a fascist, does that mean he's not a fascist, even if he fits all of these?
No, I think that you could make the case that he would be if he fit every single one of the or even most of them or some of them or whatever your criteria is. I'd
So
be
if he
willing
doesn't,
to kind of grant that. I'm just saying here, I don't see any policy prescriptions from Trump based around the ideology or philosophy of pure act. He seems like he's a more of a populist and has always been a populist. He's kind of a reactionary more than anything. So when people are reacting to things he does, he moves policy that direction that he thinks is going to placate his base. I think you saw that recently with Iran. In fact, that I think he would have probably stuck in there with the for a lot longer, but his base was really pissed, and so he started moving off of that. Right. I don't think we agree on point three. I don't.
sure.
Yeah.
I would take Iran as an example. I mean, I think it fits as an example for. I think if there was any kind of reflection and intellectual examination of the ups and downs of following Israel into this quagmire and not letting them kind of reap what they've sown, I think that we might have a different outcome today. We wouldn't be watching the economy go up while everybody else gets poorer somehow.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, but I don't know what that doesn't really have anything to do with Trump being a fascist, though. That's just him doing what he thinks is politically pragmatic. It's a bad
Well, if that
idea. I
aligns,
can
if
grant
that,
that it's a bad idea, but
yeah,
it's much more difficult for me to say, well, he's doing it because he has some greater fascistic plan for the nation.
hmm.
Like these people do this kind of shit all the time. I mean, if you
Well,
look at how many times presidents have engaged us in undeclared conflict with other nations, it's
mm,
an incredible amount. It's actually more than we've declared war. Right. So
yeah, right. We
yeah.
did agree though that if Trump didn't know he was a fascist, he would still be one if he met all the criteria.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there are a lot of people in
Yeah.
his orbit that lead him around by the nose. I mean, this guy he's very ego based, so it's probably very easy for slick people to put an idea in his head or to get him to back certain things. So if there was fascistic
Possibly.
intent in his cabinet and his close
Yeah, I don't
advisory, I
that
think
would
Trump would go
yeah.
right into it, right?
I
And this might
understand.
be
Yeah, I understand what you're saying there. I just don't see how that would line up with the specific tenet, the third tenet
fair enough.
there.
Fair enough. So we'll say we disagree slightly on that one. Let's move on to number 5. Disagreement is treason. So this is suppressing dissent and critical thinking as threats to unity.
Yeah. So I'm guessing you're
think he
going to
fits this one.
reference. He's going to reference some of Trump saying this guy's a traitor.
Well, I mean, there was a recent thing, and look, dude, I don't know that it neatly fits on this one, but I will say it makes you can make a decent argument, right? There was a recent news story that came out where Trump had a stack of news stories that were negative against him in the war, and he put a sticky note on top of it that says treason, right? Now, of course, nobody was tried for treason, but I think that, you know, going back to my opening statement and kind of how I'm framing this, it shows ambition, right? Like
Yeah,
if he
I'm
could,
willing.
Trump
I
would
mean,
lop the heads off these motherfuckers, right?
I think for this one, I'm just kind of willing to grant it. So I would be willing to concede that you have enough evidence on your side from statements that even if I made the case, this is colloquial and everybody on X all day long calls everybody else a traitor, literally all day. That's my entire feed. This guy's a traitor. No, you're the traitor. No, you're the traitor. I can't wait till we're in charge because you're going to prison. Well, I can't wait till we're in charge because you're gonna, you're gonna get the gallows. But I'm actually just kind of willing to grant 5 I'm sorry, 4 in your favor.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so number 5, fear of difference, like xenophobia used to unify the in group against outsiders.
I think that doesn't apply specifically to Trump. I think that this is party politics generally.
Well,
this would apply.
Nowadays, I would kind of agree with you because the Democrats ran on the same shit. The Democrats paraded a bunch of border agents and talked about how they were going to stop the crime wave and deport a bunch of people. So I would agree.
People say that id poll, like identity politics is a problem, but all politics is identity politics. And I mean, when you reduce it, we have universal suffrage, and that's going to reduce to 2 voting groups no matter what. There's nothing you can do about that. No third party will ever be viable if everybody has the vote. That's a natural emergence of universal suffrage.
You don't think that if people got sick enough of the ping pong game that goes back and forth between these parties, and the broken promises and the bullshit, and a third party with a charismatic leader and some big money behind him comes along, you don't think that that would stand a chance? Like Ross Perot touched it, right?
Well, Ross Perot ended up splitting the vote, and that's why Clinton won.
Well, sure, but I'm just saying, Ross Perot, that's an example of a third party guy that he polled and went far enough. And if he could have gotten a few more people to split off of their, kind of red versus blue mentality, we could have had a Perot presidency there, right? You don't think that's a possibility?
I think that even if you had a third party and it won, that it would just supplant one of the parties, and you would still end up with reduction to a 2-party system no matter what.
So you think it would end up the Democrats or the Republicans and end up kind of filling that niche?
That's traditionally how parties worked in the United States when they split. They would end up supplanting the party that came before, but generally it always reduces to 2 parties. Even in systems that are different than ours in the UK and Canada, where they have a different voting structure altogether,
right?
It still usually reduces to just 2 parties.
Usually. Every once in a while, though, one of these wild outsider parties will gain a majority, right, in Parliament.
That's true, but usually because one of the major parties gave them their votes as part of their voting system.
Sure.
So who was still in charge ultimately?
That's a fair point.
Yeah. And so it's like ultimately it always seems to reduce to a 2-party system. And I think unless you do something about universal suffrage, you can't really get the donor class out of there. And that's what leftists really want. And that's what we want the fucking donor class out of there from influencing the vote. But I don't think you can do that absent. So no, I would reject 5, fear of difference. I think that the entirety of the 2-party system is always pointing out they're different than us. They're different than us, But
I would say that there's a reasonable argument to be made here, though, that he's xenophobic. A lot of these last couple of campaigns acquiescing that the Democrats ran on the same bullshit oh, the Mexicans and South Americans and Central Americans are all they're coming here, they're taking our jobs, they're pouring over the
Yeah,
border.
I'm willing to
It's a
cede.
crime wave. It's
Yeah, I'm
this, it's
willing to
that, right?
cede those points. I just don't think that it's fascist. I think that it's just an emergence of party system politics. It has
Maybe you
nothing to do with
disagree with Echo
fascism.
here, like totally, like in terms of
I
like
don't
a
no,
framework
I don't
for
think so.
fascism.
I think that when he's talking about fear of difference, it's moving in as a support structure to these other tenets. So it has to
Sure,
be in unison with these other things in order to fit the criteria. So like
sure.
if you had fear of difference um with ultra nationalism, with this, with that, you would have a much better case than just fear of difference. So I think out of context, it's not even a fascistic tendency. The us versus them is just politics as
Sure.
usual.
Well, maybe we'll put a pin in that one. We'll come back and at the end of these and see how it fits with what we decide we agree on and disagree on, if that makes sense.
Sure.
The next one, and I think this is one that we're both going to agree, both parties do.
Yeah,
This is
appeal to social
mobilizing them,
frustration.
yeah, middle class frustration and mobilizing
Yeah.
that those that feel economically or socially displaced.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll grant that. No problem.
So fair enough.
Hmm.
Next one, obsession with a plot. This is promoting conspiracy theories to justify aggression against perceived enemies. I think he fits this one.
Um, that one I'm going to contest a little bit because
Okay.
there's a lot of the supposed Trump conspiracy theories that have proven out to be true.
So
So,
which ones?
well, for instance, did you see today that they prosecuted a person who was recruiting the homeless for voting and paying them money, which is highly illegal? Many people on the Republican side were claiming that Democrats were doing that because of the unsecured ballot during the elections during COVID-19. And
Mhm.
there now, wherever you fall on that, it's the most secure election in history or whatever. There was more free afoot than we were led to believe. That's for sure. How much fuckery was afoot, I don't know, but
I
there
believe
was
that's all.
there was
Not to take a page out of your book, but I think that's always true. I don't trust these voting machines. I
yeah.
never have. I'm not involved in the process of removing these things and counting them, nor can I fathom it or watch it
Mhm.
happen. And so
And
why?
then when it came to like the Steele dossier and what happened with Clinton with Russiagate and all of this, there was actually a plot afoot. He was correct. There was definitely a plot, and Carter Page
How
and
so?
many
Could you
other
give me the
conspirators were
TLDR
involved.
on it? Give me the TLDR on it because I'm not
Yeah, you
familiar.
remember when Hillary Clinton lost the election and she was
Yes, I
pissed
do.
off and she was like, "It's Russian interference. He's colluding with Russia," and then they went through a giant impeachment.
Yeah.
And basically, what we found out through the impeachment was that there really wasn't any collusion at all with anybody. Um,
Didn't a
and
number of people from his inner circle go to prison over that?
yeah, but yeah, for perjury, not for
Well, for
collusion.
lying for perjury about what though? Lying about their connections to foreign governments,
Sure.
Russia and Ukraine, right?
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
that's a connection, right? Like that's you got people in your inner circle that are doing shadow deals with Ukraine and Russia and
Yeah, that's like the entire political class of DC, though.
absolutely. We
So
agree.
it's
We
like,
agree on that, but maybe
but
we're getting closer to the whole
there was
system as
definitely
fascistic.
there was definitely a plot that was coordinated by the Clinton campaign. Here, I'll give you an example. If you don't believe that, don't you agree that there was a plot by the Clinton campaign to displace Bernie Sanders?
Oh, hell yeah. There was a
Yeah,
plot by the Clinton campaign to help Trump,
yeah. Well, they thought that
and that blew up in their
yeah,
face.
in
But
many
yeah,
ways he would be the weaker candidate, right? So yeah, there were some plots afoot. So I don't think that Trump has gone after things that he considers to be plots that are unreasonable. Maybe sometimes, but not any more than any other politician. And there were actually some plots. So I'm not actually willing to grant that he's obsessed with plots. Like if you've been
I mean, you
impeached
don't
for
think
bullshit reasons, I would be like, I'll give you an example. If you have let's say you have a chick who says, you're really paranoid about doing business with women, and you're like, yeah, I guess that's true. And then like the next day she sues you for no particularly good reason.
right?
Wouldn't you feel like you had some justification? You'd be like, well, that's why I'm paranoid about doing business with
Sure,
women,
sure.
right? So
Yeah, it starts to become cyclical at that point.
yeah, so I'm not willing to grant that he's obsessed with plots. I'm willing to grant that there has been a lot of public coverage on a lot of plots, but I don't think he's
Yeah.
obsessed with them.
So my argument for this one would be, I think this guy is super arguably obsessed with plots. I mean, to this day, he will truth social constantly about the stolen election, folks. Stolen, stolen, stolen. Russia, Russia, Russia still comes out of his head. You know what I mean?
Well, I
Or
think
comes
he
out of his
believes
mouth
it, though.
constantly.
I think,
Well,
yeah, he
sure, but it
genuinely
is a
believes
plot.
it.
It's an obsession with a plot. That's
Well,
what it is.
I don't know if that's obsession if there is a plot. Like, if you believe that there's an actual plot and you're just trying to thwart it or get to the bottom of it, I'm not sure that that's you being obsessed with plots. What this is referencing is like, you think people are plotting to take you out of power or you or do various things like that.
Isn't he paranoid about those things
Well, the people have tried to kill him.
and take him out of power?
Yeah. So that doesn't seem like an obsession with plots. That seems like something else. That seems like
That
plots.
seems like
That
a
seems like
plot
there was
to you.
plots, right? Not an obsession with plots, but actual plots.
What about the conspiracy theory angle? I mean, we all know that COVID-19, that era was absolutely replete with conspiracy nonsense,
Yeah,
right?
but Trump was in charge of Operation Warp Speed and getting the vaccines and stuff
No,
done.
I give him that.
So
But the
it's not
ivermectin
like
bullshit and the,
well,
you know,
ivermectin turned out did have some
I don't know.
good compatibility with helping people who were COVID patients, and it
Maybe it
also
did,
was
but
helpful for
I
other
don't want to get
things as
too,
well.
I don't want to get too far afield. But let's just say we politely disagree on that one. I think he's promoted enough conspiracy theories and showed enough obsession with plots to get to mine. You don't. That's fine. Well, we don't see
Yeah,
eye
I
to eye
think
on that.
I would say that Trump is mostly obsessed with plots that are actual plots. Like, there are people who have conspired to kill him and tried. There are people who have conspired to take him out of power and have tried. But I don't think that that's an obsession with plot. Like, if it was the case that people were actually plotting against you, and you were dealing with those plots, you wouldn't consider that an obsession, right?
Yeah.
And what this is referencing is like you're seeing plots everywhere that don't exist. It's almost like a paranoia type of thing. And I'm not willing to grant that one.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
We disagree there.
Yep.
Enemies. This is number, I'm losing count here. 6 enemies or both?
8 enemies
8.
are at
My
once
bad.
too strong and too weak.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is the idea like they're really stupid but powerful.
Yes. I think
Yeah.
that that's going on with Iran right now. I don't think it's arguable, right? They're decimated. They're gone, but they're real close to having a nuke. And if that happens, they're going to blow up the whole Middle East. You know what I mean? I feel like this is really an easy one to grant, right?
Yeah. And I think that this is the easiest one to defend, actually.
Really?
Yeah. Well, the
Okay.
idea here, you didn't have the same equalization of power when this is being referenced. So I would agree with you that there's some rhetoric on, oh man, I'm really glad my enemies are super stupid, but they're still dangerous. I don't even consider that to be a fascistic tendency because you and I probably actually do have enemies that are really stupid, but still also very dangerous.
Oh,
If you're
absolutely.
talking about, like insane jihadis with a nuke, yeah, that's dangerous, but I wouldn't consider them to be the brightest fellows around.
Sure. Um, So with this one, I've got to stick to my guns on this. I think that this is now whether or not this is a tactic that's used broadly, and I think it is. I don't really accede that it means too stupid and too strong. This says very explicitly
Yeah,
both
too
too
strong and too
strong and
weak.
too weak,
Yeah.
right? And so that is really how he has portrayed Iran in this kind of inadvisable war that we're all wrapped up in now and paying for. Um, so I don't know. I guess time will tell. It's really hard for us. I think we're just kind of playing chess on a board that isn't really defined yet. I think once all this is wrapped up and all the stories come out and all the news settles, maybe we could have a more in depth conversation about that. It's just hard for me to wrap my head around because we've done a lot of unpopular war moves at times when it was like people wanted it done. Like, Vietnam, we escalated Vietnam when pretty much the entirety of the country had started to ask for de-escalation of Vietnam. We did the same thing in Iraq, right?
But Trump's a
The
populist.
surge.
Yeah, Trump's a populist and he responds to his base.
And I will give you my cynical leftist view on this. They didn't give a. They didn't care. They didn't care. They knew that their base didn't like them following into an inadvisable war. They knew that their base, a lot of them, elected Trump on the no new wars kind of promise, right? They knew this was going to be a stinker and they didn't care because there's so much, they thought there was so much to gain. What I think happened is that Israel managed to hold out long enough to stall our war machine, right? And now they're holding this Strait of Hormuz hostage because they think they won. And Trump is kind of teeter tottering on, do I commit boots on the ground to this and fuck my base up even more at this point? Because I really do genuinely believe Trump thought this was going to be a one and done.
Yeah.
Khomeini, the
Well,
people
I
rise
mean,
up. It's the same bullshit with,
yeah,
they said with Iraq. We
yeah, of
get
course.
Saddam, they're all going to rise up. He forgets that there are people in Iran that don't agree with one another. And
Yeah,
there's a
well,
military presence,
there
and
you
his
had,
brother's ready to just step right
yeah.
in as an Ayatollah.
Well,
So,
there you had a Sunni Shia split, and you had a ground invasion. You had a bunch of other contributing factors to it as well.
sure.
So
But here
here,
you have a
though,
loyalist
mhm.
democratic split, right? A
Yeah, well,
loyalist
no,
revolutionary
Iran.
split.
I think Iran is a lot more unified than people than people want to pretend. But that aside, I agree with you that it was a strategic mistake. I just don't think it was a fascistically strategic mistake. That's all.
Okay, fair enough.
Mhm.
Let's see. Pacifism. No, we already did that. No, we did we? Yes, we did.
Pacifist? No, we haven't done.
Oh, no, we haven't.
Pacifism is
Sorry, I don't know.
trafficking with the enemy. No,
Yes.
Trump's not guilty of that for sure.
Um yeah, well, I will say at this point he's not, but he did say a lot of really suspect shit during this Venezuela operation and during this Iranian thing. I mean, a lot of the treason examples that I could probably go grab would be him calling people treasonous for not backing the United States or not backing his decision to escalate the war.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's the same kind of rhetoric you hear where people are like, isn't it strange that Andrew Wilson's rhetoric lines up with Vladimir Putin's? And I'm like, what the are you even talking about? You fucking crazy, right? It's to me, it's the same kind of shit as that. But I haven't seen any
Sure.
evidence of Trump actually having a belief that pacifism is trafficking with the enemy. I have
Do
no
you
real
think
time examples.
all right. So I guess maybe we disagree, but only slightly there. I don't think it fits. I don't think it's like a with a bullet,
Yeah,
you know.
it's not.
Um so next one, contempt for the weak. I think he fits this one. In his rhetoric, I think he fits it in policy. Anytime you're cutting social security or rating Medicare, Medicaid, shutting down social programs and closing down educational programs and stuff like that. Anytime you're doing that, it shows, I think, sneering contempt for the weak. It's like ripping a blanket off of a homeless guy while he lays there shivering.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
really
gonna have to give you the hard nay on this one. So,
okay. Fair enough.
um, when you're talking about contempt for weak people, like I may not want my tax paid dollars to go to publicly funded orphanages. I don't think that that's because I hate orphans. I think it's because I think that Catholic charity groups and Christian charity groups did a better job than government orphanages do. So that wouldn't, but that's not me being contemptible or hating orphans. It's the opposite. It's like, it's just not a good idea from my view. I don't think that a lot of the social safety nets and a lot of the things that we find out are paid for through social safety nets. I think people get very pissed off about it. And,
Sure.
and I don't think that that's them having contempt as much as it is them saying, "Hey, wait a second, there's a fairness issue here, or there's a problem here that doesn't make any sense, or just plainly, I don't want my money to go to that."
Wouldn't you say the same thing about this? We have to stop the nukes and the liberation of the Iranian people and saving it type of rhetoric that we're hearing now, right?
As contempt for the weak? No, I don't think that's contempt for the weak.
Well, it's contempt for the majority, right?
What do you
The
mean?
majority of people don't support this war.
That's
We
well,
are
that's
we are the
true.
weak. We are the
Well,
weak.
I think that I think that you're stretching there a little bit. You're kind of reaching a little bit to try to make it fit the narrative, right?
Just
But
maybe you know what, you
yeah,
got a little bit of a stretch, but
yeah,
you know,
it's a
whatever. I'm
little
throwing it
bit,
out there.
yeah, it's a little bit of a stretch to meet the narrative. It's like I don't think I would think actually the majority is the strong, right? Because if you live in a democracy or a republic, the majority are the people you want to watch out for because they're the ones who are going to fuck your whole political party up
Is
come the
that
next
true
election
anymore?
cycle. Yeah, I think it's still true. Yeah.
Isn't it just a ping pong game though? Because I agree with you. The next electoral cycle, the Republicans are going to take a drubbing, right? But then after that,
Well, hang on. I
you don't think so?
maybe no. Well, I do. I do think so, based on
Sure,
historic data that they will. But
sure.
they might have better chances than you think. And it's not because people love Republicans. It's just Democrats are that bad.
I was going to
they,
say
they're
they
just
are
so
so
fucking
pathetic.
bad. They're so bad, dude.
They're absolutely so unlovable, so
Yeah,
pathetic. There's not a spark
they're the
of
worst.
likability in any of them.
Yeah,
They just
they're
suck.
just the worst. So because of that, it's like, yeah, I think they do. I think they still do kind of fear the majority. Yeah, I don't
Well,
think that that's and I but even if they didn't, that would still be stronger than the not majority.
right.
so
Yeah.
so
Well, if there's any modern political party that could lose to Trump and the Republicans in this political climate, it's the Democrats, baby.
yeah.
I'll give you that. But
So
I
I
do
think
think, historically speaking,
yeah.
they're about to lose some seats, about to lose some governorships, maybe some state houses and stuff. It's not going to look good, is what history tells us. But
Mhm.
what history also tells us is that after 4 years of, or 4 to 8 years of a Democratic presidency or a Democratic kind of led government, people are going to be sick of that shit, and the Republicans are going to sweep back in,
And
right?
they'll switch to moderate Republicans actually,
Yeah.
which sucks. But yes, so that one I don't think we got contempt for the week. I think number 11, everyone's educated to become a hero. Is you just have to kind of flat out concede to me.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
wish. I mean, I kind of wish that this one was true. Like, educated
Mhm.
to become a hero in my mind means well educated. You know what I mean? You can't really become a hero without knowledge. But yeah, selective populism. What do you think about this?
Well, hang on. 12 is machismo,
Oh,
right?
sorry, I skipped
Yeah.
machismo. This one
It's
you got to give to me.
kind of, but remember the qualifier and disdain for women? Remember I told you my biggest problem with Trump, he doesn't have enough disdain for women.
Okay, fair
you know,
enough. I know. I've
if he
heard you
had
say that
I
before.
would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
happy if Trump like I would be happy to give you this one, except that Trump doesn't have any disdain for women. He has them all over his administration, and the dumbest ones possible too. It's not like they're the smart ones, they're the dumb ones.
Well, you and I might be able to have this disdain for women conversation at DebateCon coming up on this January 26th in Dallas,
so
Texas.
I think we split this one. There's a lot of
Uh,
machismo. There's a lot of
machismo,
machismo, but
I
not
give
enough,
you
but not a lot of
hero.
disdain for women. Not a
Okay,
lot of
fair
disdain
enough.
for women.
Selective populism. This is claiming to represent a unified will of the people, dismissing individuals' rights.
Yes, I would say that Trump is definitely a selective populist. Um, yeah, I would just grant you that one.
And in good faith for that, I would say that this is also one that we could apply to the Democrats most of the time,
Just
right?
everybody.
Yeah,
Just
right.
everybody.
Everybody
Yeah.
in the modern political systems, right? And then Newspeak is the
Mhm.
final one.
That doesn't apply to Trump at all.
MAGA, all of these kind of little nicknames
Those
he
were
comes
things
up
that were
with for
given
people,
well, those are things
right?
given to him, like the MAGA movement was that wasn't really coined by Trump, it's more of a media term.
Well, it was coined by Ronald Reagan.
Yeah, but it's a
It was
media
Ronald Reagan's campaign slogan,
yeah,
right?
but I mean, MAGA wasn't though. When you're talking about like the MAGA movement,
Right.
that was something that's kind of more of a media
Sprung up.
phenomenon. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Trump gives his like political opposition nicknames, right? But it's not newspeak and not in the fascistic sense anyway, where they're like the fasci and the right act will
Right.
paradigm and weird shit like that. He doesn't do any of that shit.
I don't think he fits this one super
Yeah.
tightly. I do think that there is a new way that the right talks as a result of the Trump
I would
era.
say it's just Zoomer speak
A
more
lot
than
of it
anything.
is,
Yeah.
yeah. or old MAGA boomer speak as well. There's a lot of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's true, but I'm not sure it's new speak.
True. So it looks like, just in general, we agree on some, we disagree on some, but what we do agree on is he fits some of these points, some of them more neatly than others,
Yeah, but can
right?
we agree that like most of these politicians meet a lot of these? The biggest problem with Echo's criteria, and the reason I wanted to walk through them, or I didn't
Yeah.
have a problem walking through all of them. I've done this before.
Mhm.
Is it's kind of a self-refutation because they kind of apply to all governments when you start to break them down. They kind of apply to every governmental system which exists. And even if we were to grant all of these were true, that still wouldn't actually make it a fascist nation. They wouldn't have corporatism in it, wouldn't have a lot of the key criteria. But even these, we can't even agree and outright the ones that we do agree to that I concede to you, you outright concede as many to me is not true.
Oh,
So
absolutely,
it just
absolutely.
doesn't, yeah, it
I'm
just
not
doesn't
claiming I
seem,
made a better argument than
yeah,
you
yeah,
did
no,
here.
no problem. It just doesn't seem that Trump's much of a fascist here, man.
How do you feel about Echoes 14? Just in general, as a framework for talking
I
about
think that they're
fascism.
self-refuting because I could grant all of them as being true in a framework and it still wouldn't be a fascist government necessarily. It could be, but it's not like these conditions are met, so necessarily now it's a fascist state because it doesn't have things in it that are key. Like it doesn't have corporatism, which is a key portion of fascism. It doesn't have the control matrices, which are necessary for sectored economies. Like there's big problems with it. But
Sure.
even kind of granting all of the ones as we go through it, Trump doesn't even fit a lot of these. And even the ones
Sure.
he does,
Granted.
it's just like, well, kind of maybe if we apply other characteristics to it, maybe, you know?
He fits it. He doesn't fit all of them neatly. He fits some of them pretty neatly, but he doesn't fit. Say some of them he doesn't fit at all.
And so
So
if that's the case, yeah, go
you're a
ahead.
strict definitionalist. I can tell that from your
Well, this time I
other.
made sure we didn't do that,
No,
right?
you didn't. And no,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, from watching your other engagements on this, I can see that that is important to you. And I'm not. I think that language is this kind of mutable and evolving thing. And
But I agree with
Umberto
that.
Eco himself
I agree with
says
that too.
as
I'm
much.
just
Yeah.
the reason I think in debates or even in conversations semantics are so important is because we often mean different things by the words that we say. And a lot of
Sure.
times people end up spending an hour talking past each other and equivocating because they don't actually even understand what's being said to them.
Well, isn't the big thing like, wouldn't you love to bring leftists over to your way of thinking?
I think
Like,
I
wouldn't you love
do.
it?
Yeah,
Well,
I
yeah, no,
think
like you would love it if most leftists moved, right?
I would love it if
And I
most debates stuck to
and
the
I'm the
topics.
same way.
Yeah.
I would love it if
Yeah.
people on the right would move a little left, right?
Yeah.
And how do you get there without conversation?
You
You
can't.
don't.
Yeah. And you
So
can't
I
get
don't
there
fear
without
it.
rhetoric. You can't get there without vibes. You can't get there without arguments. You can't get
Right.
there without any of that. So I like to talk to and debate with all kinds of people. I don't care if it's Dave Smith or it's a member of the Trump administration or it's a famous person or it's just some random guy in a Discord. I like to debate
Some
with all
fat
types.
Paul dork. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
or whoever,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Right,
Because
right.
people have lots of interesting things to say that I never thought about. And
We agree on that.
yeah, and I
I
think,
when I was
yeah,
prepping for this, I do streams and stuff, and I was telling my people, that watch me, I was like, I'm not. I hope that I get to pick this guy's brain, learn a little bit about what makes him tick through the lens of this debate topic,
yeah,
and I hope I can do the same for him. And I feel like I accomplished that. You know what I mean? We accomplished that together, which is
well,
cool.
well, good man. I appreciate the good faith debate. Hang on, I got a good idea here for a banger. This guy in the chat, he said, Andrew, I know that this guy is super nice, and I feel bad about this, but can you be a to him anyway? So, all
Well,
right,
you know what? I'm going
I
to reveal something. I'm going to
all right,
reveal something in lieu of that.
all right,
And this is going to be this. I mean, no ill intent about this.
okay,
If it went nasty, I got a jar of olives, and I was gonna pop the top on a jar
do
of
it,
olives.
do
Okay.
it, do it. Okay, and if you did that, I was going to
Oh shit!
respond by doing that and saying to you, now do 5 push-ups.
Oh, and I would have been wrecked. I'm so glad I didn't go that way. Oh my god, he was prepped. He was prepped.
That's wild.
I love that, dude. I love that. That's great.
John Rock, just let me know in
Always
chat.
one step ahead of you lefties. Okay,
Damn
that's
it.
my job.
Foiled again.